Pat yourself on the back because you are right here, right now, for a reason. Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will empower ourselves and others to live lives with more passion and purpose. How you doing this morning, Jared?
I'm good, man. Welcome back and Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Starting 2021 off.
Thank you very much.
How was the trip to see your dad?
Ooh, it was an emotional roller coaster. Definitely an emotional roller coaster. Got down there, didn't really know what was going on with his cancer doctors. One said he had cancer, one said he didn't. So I really took a deep dive and just, I hate to say it, but just kind of shed more light on our healthcare system and just saw how a lot of these cancer doctors are just cogs in a big wheel.
Yeah.
You know, they just prescribe a drug, and that's about it, man. One of the doctors was like, yeah, you could eat whatever you want. I was like, dude, are you kidding me? This is cancer, the biggest battle of your life. You're going to tell them, oh, your fuel doesn't matter. So I could go on about this all day. But the long story short is it was an emotional roller coaster, but it was still a successful trip. Got to bond with my father, got him on some
How
good
was he?
routines.
How was he at accepting the fight? Because we had talked before, you weren't sure that he's going to be open to any changes. He's like, I'm going to do what I do.
Yeah, he accepted it. It took a little time, but
Yeah.
I'm proud of him. We made an agreement that he's going to send me his lap times every day for his lap around the neighborhood,
Okay.
and he's been doing it.
Yeah.
I told him you got to do one morning, one night. He's already with a little excuses. Too cold at night. You know.
Dude, he's in Houston. How cold is it?
I know. I'm like, dude, but he's like, I can't get sick right now. You know, all the shit the doctors are telling him. So I'm like, dude, don't listen to those guys. But it's good. How you been? How's your week?
Man, I'm good. We just reached a big milestone in our house. We no longer have any kids in public school.
Dang.
Taya finished high school with a very unceremonious log off of a computer because she hasn't been in her school since March of 2020. So
Dang, that's funny.
yeah, you know, and that's that'll tie well into the topic for this week, just because, you know, never in a million years could we have envisioned her high school experience or any kid's experience with school being what it's been for the last almost year now. So it was a little bittersweet to, you know, just reminisce about like my senior year, last week of senior year, and all the stuff I did, and to think that like her senior year has literally been spent in her room on a computer. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely just like, how the hell do I prepare for that? How could I have known that that's something I have to prepare for as a parent? And
You couldn't have.
not now, but now I can.
Yeah, now you
And
can.
now parents in the future, you got to have, you know, that's got to be something that you factor in is what do we do if this happens again? And that's going to be a big piece of what I talk about moving forward for 2021 is what's that saying, man? Trick me once, shame on you. Trick me twice, shame on me.
Yeah.
Now, you got me. You got me on this one. Did not know it was possible.
Yeah.
But now that I know it's possible, it'll never happen again to me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's so yeah, it's been good. The holidays are good. I love Christmas time. You know, I've been making a cognitive effort to make sure I support all the small businesses. Been spending a ton of time trying to rally other businesses to open up. I feel like I'm going back to my busboy labor leader days again.
Good. I love that. Have you had any success?
Yeah, there's
Influencing
the
some
Bulldog Pub and Grill. Shout out to them over in Greeley.
Okay.
They are very loud and adamant to stay open.
Cool.
Few other gyms, some places that don't want to be as public about it, but dude, I mean, you gotta do what's best, you know, and there's no reason common sense can't win out in this deal.
Yeah. And you got to stand up for what you believe in. You know, that was a lesson that I took from getting with these cancer doctors is just because they're bigger and have more money or more quote unquote studies done doesn't mean that they're always right. You know, if you really feel something in your heart is right, it's America. You know, we're a free country, and we have the rights to stand up and speak up for what we believe in. And I think that's the same case for this COVID stuff. You know, if you're living in fear and you're scared of, you know, this virus catching your customers and all these people, then close down.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're in need and you know that you're taking the safety measures that are recommended and all this stuff, open up. You know?
No, I agree.
So, same thing with the vaccine thing. You know, hey, you want to get the vaccine? Cool. You don't get it.
Yeah. And honestly, quit telling everybody about it. I couldn't care less who gets it and who doesn't get it. I don't care about your flu shots. I don't care if you had hepatitis C shot. I don't care about none of your shots.
Right.
You know, yeah, I just don't. We just continue to find more ways to divide ourselves from each other, you know, and until we get past that, we're going to kind of struggle or swim in circles, I believe. So with that, let's move into this week's topic. And I wanted to talk about, quite honestly, planning for 2021, goal setting, vision boards, however you do it, and ask the question, is it even worth it? Is it even worth it anymore after what we went through in 2020?
Episode 92, planning for 2021. Is it worth it? I will say, heck yeah, it's worth it. I think 2021, it's probably even more important for you to make plans and have a strategy. And like you said, now we have a whole new perspective on how the world could look with things that we've never experienced before, these shutdowns and viruses and all this crazy stuff that we've experienced this year. So I definitely think it is totally worth planning, making goals, sticking with what you normally do for New Year's resolutions. And if you don't normally do New Year's resolutions, or if you're not a goal setter or a planner, then I recommend you do make some sort of plans and strategies for how your year is going to play out. What do you think?
Yeah, fair enough. I agree that it's still important. But what I'm really curious about, Ali, is will you change the way you do it for 2021 based on what you learned in 2020? Is there any kind of, because we're both very much, we have goals, we have vision boards. I mean, we could go back and show the podcast 2020 goal sheet for the year and like what we wanted to be doing each quarter. Will you keep that same mindset for 2021, or do you shift a little bit based on what you learned? What's your approach?
For me, nothing. I'm not really shifting anything because of COVID or things that 2020 played out. I'm shifting more because of new wisdom that I've just gained in my life journey. So, for example, this year, I'm not focused so much on specific measurable metrics like X amount of revenue this year for my business, or I want to win 3 MMA fights or anything like that, right? So my goals now more look like, or my bigger goals of like, hey, this year I'm really focused on being the best martial artist that I can be. And under that, there will be a lot of sub goals that I'll maybe break out per quarter, week by week. Same thing, I want to be the best business owner of a lifestyle brand that I can be, right? And broken out through that per quarter, per week. So I use a spreadsheet. Maybe we can link it to this episode that I got from the Compound Effect. I may have talked about this before in a previous episode, but each week I have an accountability group that I get on a Sunday call with, and I have goals every week. Like, for example, one of my big spirituality goals this week is to meditate every day for 20 minutes. I'm usually around that 10-minute range, but I'm putting it up there, you know. Another fitness goal that I have every day is a splits challenge. That's part of being the best martial artist I can be, you know, increasing that flexibility, doing the splits. So I'm always going to have goals and strategies to achieve my goals week by week, month by month. But for me, it's more changing because of my life wisdom of not being so set in stone of like, oh, I need to make $1 million. But
why is that changed? Because even up till last year, you were very focused on the financial.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we walk into your office and look at a lot of your stuff on your board, it was financial goals, this much in
Mhm.
quarter one, this much. So what specifically have you learned or experienced that's caused that shift? Because I think a lot of people will still set goals based on things,
Mhm.
financial achievement. I want to be able to go on this vacation. I want to be able to buy this car, this house, put my kid in this college, whatever that is. What did you learn that's caused you to shift more to now, I would say, more experiential based
Mhm.
goals versus the thing based goals?
I think a big piece of it is a lot of failing to reach specific metrics, of not getting there, but also looking back at like, well, I still did a lot of good things and made a lot of progress, but I'm kind of beating myself up and feeling really bad because I didn't hit this specific number or specific metric. And then me kind of thinking of like, okay, well, what if I did hit that? How much of a difference would it make now? So don't get me wrong, I still think that it's good to have specific metrics, especially in business, for you to hit, but I'm not tying as much value to these goals. They're not like the big overarching goals of like revenue for the year. It's more of like, how can we be, I'm truly trying to live what our brand says. Like, how can I be, how do you be your best in certain areas of life? So for me, like a big thing for MMA was kind of figuring out what I want to do. We have guys at the gym that want to be a UFC world champion. We have guys at the gym that want to be a certain champion in different martial arts, whatever it is. And then I kind of wrestled with that for a little while and then decided I just want to be the very best martial artist I can be. And for me, that works. That feels right. That feels good. And whenever I go out there and have that goal in mind, who knows? Maybe it will take me to a championship. Maybe it won't. But I know that everything I do is aligned with that. And that just seems to be a better way to align myself. It may not work for everyone,
No, I think
but
it does. And here's why I think it works for the majority of people. And honestly, I think we share the same experience from 2020, and that is this. If my goal is so much money in quarter one, or so much sales in quarter two, or a certain gym membership metric by quarter three, so many classes around the country by fourth quarter. What I've learned in 2020 and why I will shift how I set goals in 2021 is I don't control that. Right? That's what I literally learned. I do not control how much money I'm going to make in quarter two, how many sales I'm going to get in quarter three, because we were shut down. Right? Like I couldn't run my business. So there's no way I'm going to reach my goals that I set at the beginning of the year because I didn't factor in what if I can't do business for 6 months? What if it's not safe for people to train with me for 6 months? So I really reflected on like a lot of the goals we had, both us for the podcast, individuals, my family vision board. I actually didn't have control over if I could reach them. I control my effort to try, but there were so many other variables that could factor in that would derail me. And you're right, at the end of the year, I'm like, oh, I didn't reach it. But I didn't reach it because I wasn't skilled. I didn't reach it because I didn't try. I didn't have passion. I didn't work hard. It was literally out of my control.
mm-hmm.
So for me in 2021, I'm going to create goals and visions that I completely control, regardless what anybody else does.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what I learned from 2020 is, one, we're very fragile. We're a fragile ecosystem, right? Like you shut down one thing, like for you, like say the B-nail stuff. If we just said no more imports from China, that would be a huge blow to your company.
Huge.
It would take you months to find new suppliers and negotiate cost. You know what I mean? So that would throw off all your metrics. And it's not because you weren't skilled. It's not because you didn't have the know-how. It's because literally there was a variable that you couldn't have planned for that came into play.
Yeah.
So for me in 2021, I want to minimize the variables I don't control and my dependency upon them.
Love it. Yeah, and I think any goals that you set can be adaptable, right, and not too specific. Even if we look at fitness, right, I want to lose 20 pounds this year, or I want to gain 5 pounds of muscle, right? Instead, you could look at something of like, I want to be the healthiest that I've ever been this year. And you can adapt that goal, right? What if they close down all gyms and you can't hit weights? Well, guess what? You're probably not going to build that 10 pounds of muscle that year, but you can run, you can work on your flexibility, you know? So setting goals that are adaptable, you know, to be the best business we can be, the best lifestyle brand that we can be. Let's say they shut down imports in China. All right, we're probably not going to hit that revenue goal because guess what? Our costs are about to triple now that we have to do everything inside the U.S. But maybe we have some incredible events to get national coverage about this brand that is doing amazing things, and so on and so forth. So that's what I'm kind of looking at is like making your goals a little bit more flexible to where if some shit goes down, you can adapt and still be meeting that goal. Because every year since I've had my business, it's always been a rigid, and it's mainly been that annual revenue goal as like that big target, that big leader. But sometimes things happen where you can't hit that, and it's not worth feeling like you didn't achieve, like you failed, when it really just comes down to the art of goal setting.
And the perspective of looking back, I mean, honestly, that's why most people don't make it through January on their resolutions or finding their goals, is because they're not seeing enough progress in the first month, so they quit. When the reality is you're still making progress as long as you're moving.
Exactly.
And now I'm not
saying,
yeah, absolutely. And I'm not saying don't be accountable. Like, I'm still going to be accountable for my goals, but my goals are not going to be things. They're not going to be specific numbers.
Yeah.
Just because I don't control that, but I do control my perspective of it, what I bring to the table.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say for my men out there, for all of us men, there's something called, I learned this from Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful. I got to see him he was a keynote speaker at MJ BizCon, a marijuana business conference, and he told us that he prefers women CEOs because men have what's called a testosterone target. We tend to set our goals way too big and only maybe achieve 60 to 70% of them, when women tend to be less testosterone and more, they set goals that are more achievable. So I think that's huge, the momentum piece that you were just talking about, Jared. Set goals, maybe even a little bit less than you know what you can achieve, to start building that momentum, and you can build from there.
Yeah, once you get in motion, things stay in motion. It's the old law of physics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things at rest stay at rest. Things in motion stay in motion. So what would be your big personal goal for 2021? You mentioned becoming the best martial artist you could be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So as we're recording this is still, we haven't hit New Year's yet. So I actually have, funny enough, on my weekly list today to do kind of a New Year resolution activity and planning. So I haven't totally planned this out, but I can tell you that it is going to be more of these overarching goals of how can I be the best martial artist I can be, for example, and then having some subcategories in there of things that I would like to do. Definitely another MMA fight's going to be in there. I'd like to get in the boxing ring and just experience that, do a boxing fight.
Yeah.
And then some other things around that, you know, as far as best business, big leaps this year with getting my first advisor on board. Things with that we've been working on, the best servant to the community and to God that I can be. So a lot of spirituality focused, community service based goals on that. And these are going to be my overarching things, and I'll break them out per quarter and then week by week as I approach them. That's kind of how I work. I like to structure my personal life like I structure my business life, of quarterly goal. You know, Q1, January, February, March. I have 3 to 7 goals for that quarter, and then each week I plan my weeks knowing, okay, what are my big goals for the quarter? Like right now, one of my big goals for this quarter is to be able to do the middle splits. So I've been stretching my ass off on that. And then I'm also getting certified to teach meditation. So I have 2 more assessments. I've completed 8 assessments and then 2 more of those. So that's one of my big spirituality goals. And then one of my big fitness goals that I've been working on all quarter have been the splits and the meditation one. So I really recommend that. Works for me because I already practice it all the time with my business. So for me, it's like, why not apply this to my personal life?
Yeah, it's a model you're comfortable with.
Exactly. The quarterly goals, and then each week having your tasks that you got to complete that are moving you towards those goals.
Yeah, see, I'm gonna go like a 360.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because before I had like vision boards, and like we've had success with vision boards, like the Airstream and certain things. But I just realized in 2020, man, I didn't have near as much input on things as I thought I did, you know? And so for 2021, all I'm focusing on is being free.
Okay.
That's just my word, free. And I want to be free to move myself. I want to be free to learn, free to feed myself and provide for my family, free to love, right? Especially as our kids are leaving the house now. We're all done with high school. Like now I have more time for Andrea where she's like, literally it's just me and her most of the time. I need to improve that aspect of my life. So literally everything I want to do for 2021 leads to being more free, whether it's business adjustments, selling properties, because that's what I learned is that was one of my big things is in 2020, if I owe something, I'm not truly free. And then you tell me I can't work, you can't run my business, but I still owe. That's not a good spot to be in. And thankfully, like, we've been conservative financially, so it's not bad for us. We're able to make it. But I'm like, I don't ever want to feel that again. I don't ever want you to tell me I can't work, but I still owe you. Mm-hmm. You know, and then it was kind of a wake-up call. Like, how much of our day do we spend doing shit we really don't want to do just to pay for things we don't really need? Mm-hmm. So in 2021, Andrea and I just want to be completely free. If the weather's cold and we don't like it, we're going to load up and move to where it's warm. If it's raining, we're going to go somewhere, you know what I mean? Just because we've done all the other stuff, right? We've had big houses, we've had cars, we've had the career, we've had debt. We haven't had debt. We've had kids. We got the kids, you know, mostly heading out of the house. It's time. We want to be free, man. Free to grow our own food if we want to. Free to love how we want to love, live how we want to live, and move how we want to move. So I'm looking, that's my thing. So everything I do in 2020 has to lead to more freedom for us.
Love it. And I think that freedom, especially now, it is in a way disguised to where sometimes a lot of people don't even know that they're not free. We have these intricately woven limitations imposed upon us by authority, whether that's government authority, financial authority, all these different types of authorities. And it's not until we're deep into a situation that we realize we're not really free. No. You know, even like an election, you know, okay, yeah, you have the freedom to vote, but for two individuals that you may not agree with either of them, but you're told you're supposed to. Yeah, and
quite honestly, like, look at what we're going through now. We don't even know if they're counted right. You know what I mean? Like, we literally, like, have always just trusted they did the right thing. We have no idea.
No.
Not any idea. And that's, you know, that's been huge for us, is just realizing, like, okay, we got locked down. We can only go to the grocery store during these hours. I can only buy this much food. I can't run my business. I'm like, I'm not free.
Yeah.
Are you shitting me? And I'm living in a neighborhood that I pay good money to live in, with a bunch of other houses that look just like mine, the exact number of feet apart from each other, everywhere. I can't tell you the name of one person around me. So I'm like, why am I living like this?
Yeah.
Why do I spend money to live in a neighborhood, to have a nice house, and not know anybody? And we're all locked down. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we're going to be free, man. And that's, and it may not be for everybody, but here's where I definitely want to be free. I want to be free of comparison. And I think that's, if you could set your goals and live your life where you are free to quit comparing yourself to everybody else and worrying how they compare themselves to you, would you be doing the same things you are?
Of course not.
I don't think most of us would. You know, I literally just had this talk at the gym the other day, and this person's like, I hate it in Colorado. I hate the winters. It's cold. It's getting too big. There's too many people. I want to move to Arizona. I'm like, cool, why don't you? Well, I just got $1 an hour raise. I'm like, $1 an hour? That's all it took to bribe you to stay somewhere you're not happy. Are you happy at your job? No, I don't really like it. So you don't like your job. You don't like where you live. And they gave you $1 an hour more, and that bribed you into not doing this. You know what I mean? And I'm like, well, that's your life. And I hope that's been a big thing I learned in 2020, man, is I'm not going through another year like this. If I have, what's the average American? 78, I think? 73, 78, something like that.
Live?
Yeah, you live.
Yeah, something like that.
78, I believe. If I only get 78 1 year goes, and I just fucking went through 2020, I'm not doing that shit again. I'm not wasting 2 goes doing that.
Yeah.
Like, so now I have to learn. And what did I learn? I want to be free. I want to be, you know, if you want to come see me, you come see me. Ain't nobody telling you can't come see me.
Yeah.
And there's nobody telling me I can't go see my family.
Yeah.
Like, never again will you tell me that, and never again will I ever listen to it.
Yeah.
So everything I'm doing right now is set to be free. And it's, you know, and don't get me wrong, it's not just 2020. Like, we had been planning this for a while. You know, we had the Airstream for a couple years now, the retirement, the small business investments. Like, we've been planning to kind of move to a different phase of life when our kids got older, but this definitely, like, pushed it up to, like, hey, why are you going to wait another 2 years? Like, let's just get it going now, because we don't know that there ain't coronavirus 21 in 2 years, or 2022, or so that's how I'm doing it. So, like, where you have all those details and things, dude, I'm going to keep it super simple. I'm just free. That's my word, free. And then underneath it, it's like my fitness, my relationships, my foods, travel.
Yeah.
Business. Mm-hmm. And that's all I'm looking at.
That's good.
We'll see. I don't know. We'll be back in get ready for 2022, and I'll tell you, you'd be like, what'd you do? I'd be like, I wasn't free. I was locked down the whole time. I don't know. I think it'll work because it allows me flexibility within there, right? It's not like before I had concrete, like I want this, and this to happen in this quarter, and that to happen. And at the end of the year, I have all this. Now I'm just like, dude, I just want to be free. Like, however I move about, and it's going to allow me to adjust to all the variables that because I don't think 2021 is going to be any better than 2020, to be honest with you. So I don't want to be locked into being like, shit, I didn't make this because I couldn't control it. This is going to let me have more input on the variables.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to adapt. And look, just because the external environment may look the same in 2021 and 2020 doesn't mean that the year has to be the same.
If you've learned.
If you've learned, and, you know, sometimes you have to reject authority and trust yourself. Especially if your inside is telling you something that doesn't align with authority, you know, you have to trust yourself sometimes. And that's exactly what I did. I traveled for Thanksgiving. I went home. I had a beautiful time with my family. You know, I'm training. I'm not wearing the fucking mask outside. No, I'm not going to do that. You know, I have respect when I go into a business and they ask the mask.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I got some people telling me like, oh, I went to Mexico in July. I'm still living my life, you know, and I may catch some heat. Oh, that's selfish. Guess what? I don't think it is. I'm rejecting this authority. I'm rejecting what they're telling me. And, you know, you may disagree with it, call it what you want, but I'm going inward. I'm meditating. I'm going inside and controlling what my environment is. So I'm not cooping myself up in the house doing these lockdowns. I'm not, and guess what? I'm the healthiest I've ever been in my entire life.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm choosing to reject the authority. Sometimes that has to happen when things aren't aligning with what's for your best interest, and what's being recommended is actually killing people. Depression, anxiety, all these things from being cooped up and not being able to enjoy some of the best things in life, social gatherings, concerts, music venue, all this stuff. You know, sometimes you have to reject authority and trust yourself. And I'm learning more from the cancer doctors, from all this COVID bullshit for 2020, all this stuff. I'm learning more and more that, hey, there's a lot more places where rejecting authority needs to happen.
Yeah.
And you need to be ready to adapt. I mean, I love what I'm seeing with small businesses doing what they need to do to move forward. Sometimes you don't need to conform.
So how do you tie all of that into your goal setting or your planning for 2021? Because it's easy to say not conform, be a little rebellious, but how does that work for your goal setting? I mean, for me, here's how I see it, is don't set your goals based on what everybody else is telling you. Listen to yourself. If you know there's things you want to get done, do them. Do them, man. Like, you don't need permission from anybody else in life to live your life. Like, just like you, like going to like you're living your life. You're booked another trip out of the country, and I'm like, dude, I hope they let you back in. You're like, fuck it, if they don't, I'll stay down there. And I'm like, that's a good point.
Yeah, we just had that conversation off air. You know, I booked a trip to Peru in March, and you're like, dude, what if they don't let you back in the U.S.? I'm like, then they don't let me back in the U.S. You know, then I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
And for our community, I think you need to have that attitude as well, because you will figure it out. And you always have figured it out. Think about every situation, problem that has risen in your past. You figured it out, no matter what it was, no matter if there was rules imposed on you, if there was a death in the family, if you lost all your money, whatever it was, you figured it out, and you're still here today. So guess what? When you make your plans for 2021, trust that no matter what happens, you're going to figure it out. So make sure that you set your goals to be adaptable. You don't want them to be these rigid goals.
And you don't want to set them based on what you think everybody else wants you to do or wants you to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nobody, and that's, you know, I can't stress that enough. To have gone through a year like we've gone through, I will never give up that much of a year of my life again, where I just sat at home waiting for you to tell me to come on. Now that I look back, and I'm so pissed that I did that. I should never close the gym. I shouldn't, you know what I mean? I should have been like,
get out of here.
Yeah, but we didn't know.
Right.
You know what I mean? But now I know,
mm-hmm.
and I'll never fall for the same trick twice.
I think it was Grant Cardone who said something along the lines of, you know, in my earlier years, I was trying to make everybody happy, and I realized that doesn't pay very well. You know, like when I'm trying to please everyone. He's like, when I have people hating me, that's when I'm really making money, because I'm being true to myself. And I figured, when you're really in your true self, you're going to have people that really don't like you, that hate you, you know, and you're going to have people that love you. So just try to be your truest version of yourself, no matter what anybody thinks.
Yeah, and set your goals. Let's set 2021 up. And maybe that could be a word for a lot of you, is authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make 2021 an authentic year for you,
mm-hmm.
right? Becoming your most authentic. And I if you're here listening to us and you're in our community, you're already a leader. You're already somebody that others look to, because you are seeking more purpose and more improvement. So maybe that's a word for you in 2021, is authentic. Like, how do you show up more authentic? Are your goals leading you to be really who you're supposed to be? Or are you doing them because either somebody else expects it or because it's what you've always done? And for me, I'm going to stay with the word free. Like, that is going to be my word for 2021. And everything I do has to lead to creating more freedom for me.
Amen. And I think, who is it? Jocko Willink, who says discipline equals freedom.
Yeah.
So when you are disciplined with whatever your goals are, whatever you're supposed to be doing, it creates more opportunities for freedom. You know, so be disciplined with what you want to achieve, with what your true goals are, and you're going to see that more and more freedom will just naturally come your way.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all being here. As we get going on this new year, remember to join us over on Patreon if you want to get more behind the scenes with the podcast and be able to contribute and help us continue to grow our purposeful community. And we thank you all for being here.
And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.